The idea of a homeless person, for me, even before I came to IHN, is like somebody who lives on the street, in New York City, who's, drinking and this and that, and, that's not how it is at all. And it's so easy to become homeless, and it happens to just like regular people. Um, so, even being homeless, I worried about people thinking, oh, you're homeless, but I'm a normal person, so um, it's definitely seen different than what it really is.
What led to my homelessness of changing a job? I had no choice but to leave because of the situation, and then didn't find a job in time.
The first time I was 17, my mom has always, when she gets mad at me for being, a stupid kid and messing up, she'd say, pack your crap and get out. And one time I actually listened to her and I packed my stuff and I left.
I was in a 13-year relationship, but I didn't get married. So I made a decision. I had to make a decision to go to the safe house, which is not a permanent residence.
I had a bad relationship, and I tried to work with it, but it was so hard. So I had to make a decision and took the children and I left.
What led to my homelessness was domestic violence and the situation I was put in. I couldn't live where I was anymore, so I ended up moving to a friend's house in Three Bridges, and I stood there for a week.
I had roommates that sort of made my living situation really uncomfortable. I had 2 little boys, and I was living with roommates because I couldn't afford to live by myself. I was going to school full-time and I was working part-time, and I had 2 small children, like I said, so I needed roommates to help me get a place. And the roommates that I had ended up having pretty intense drug problems, and it was a really unsafe environment for my kids and for me.
Medical insurance was a big role in the first time of my homelessness. It took most of my paycheck away from my family and myself, and then which ended up leading to our homelessness.
Originally from Florida. I was staying at a shelter over there because I'm a victim of domestic violence. So I met someone over there that told me to come to New Jersey to live with them. So I just came, and at the time where I stayed with them for 3 months, and I wasn't feeling comfortable in their house.
What led to my homelessness was domestic violence. A really bad situation at my house at the time, and I had to get out of the situation, so I became homeless.
My father's house. It wasn't fit to really live in. But we were there because we were in a process of leaving my husband, and that was the only place to go. And someone called DYFUS, and DYFUS came and took us away.
What led to my homelessness? It would have to be when DYFUS came in and kicked us out of my grandfather's house, which we were living in, and they told us to go to IHN.
I eventually did move back home, and things were getting better with my mom and me, but then in 2005 we had a falling out and I couldn't take it anymore. She didn't want me there. I felt like I was just getting in her way all the time, and apparently with her alcoholism, it just wasn't working out with us together.
I had a really good life. I met my kid's father, we got together, beautiful home. Things happened between him and I, didn't work out, left, ended up moving here to Jersey. Then from there, I ended up moving to New York again to be with my family. And then, like I said, situation was rough, so I came back over here.
So you use up the funds you had for the traveling, the job hunting, the food. Rent didn't come along in time, and I had to choose between food and waiting of rent, and I chose food to feed my child.
It was really pretty horrible because it was just another reason why I wasn't the same as everyone else, and another reason why they wouldn't want to get to know me. And I guess it just made me shelter myself more.
Just wasn't conducive to like health and growth. Basically, the last thing that happened before I left was somebody broke the windshield of my car while I was not home.
Homelessness affected my children because they had to see me going through, struggling, wondering, how am I going to make it? Where am I going to go? All those kinds of things. And they had to see me, crying at times and not understand that. They were really young, so, hopefully it won't be, that much affecting them when they're older, but, they definitely, saw a lot.
I think it affected them mentally and emotionally because, like, when we moved from out of the shelter to the house, my oldest, he was kind of like, said to me that he was gonna miss like all the people that he met, and he knew that he wasn't gonna see them again. And it was really like sad whenever he told me that. And also whenever we moved at the house, he kind of like asked me, "Okay, Mom, how long we staying here for? 2 weeks or a week?"
I was a little bit lucky because they were very small. They didn't realize what was happening. They thought we were moving place to place, but it was hard on me because I had to do everything for them. I had to get them ready wherever we go. But it was hard, and sleep, scream at night, different place, was very hard on them.
I would never thought I would be homeless. I mean, it was like the farthest thing from my mind. Because usually when I thought of homelessness, I thought of like a few, raggy men that I've seen in like Atlantic City where we used to live, who I used to give change to and things like that. And then I realized that once I actually joined IHN, I realized I was basically homeless for my entire life.
I was never homeless in the sense that, I lived in a big city and I had like, I was a panhandler, I never had to sleep on a street and ask for money. But I did not have a safe place to call my own for my family.
No, I always thought I was self-reliant and being able to do everything and most everything to keep myself from being homeless and my family homeless. I always thought I was, the big protector kind of thing, and found out that it doesn't matter how big you are or what money you have or whatever. When it's time, it's time.
No, I never thought I would become homeless. I grew up in a really, well family. We had, a decent amount of money. I never really had to, ask for anything. And I would have never guessed in my wildest dreams I would have been homeless.
When you become homeless, it's really almost like the worst thing that can happen to you, I think. It's a real survival kind of, it's a survival thing that kicks in. And I don't think that really goes away after you finally settle down. That hasn't really left me. Like I guess I'm still scared a lot of being homeless again.
Once you're homeless, you will always, and I am saying once you're homeless because I was there, as you see, that is something that will always be on your mind. You'll be going to work and you keep saying, what if I lose my job? What if I lose my job? And you're just so terrified of failing and having to start building and all over again, because it was a very long process.
I had nowhere to go, and I called IHN, and they They set up an appointment, an interview for me to come in. And when I came in, I was interviewed, I think it was a Wednesday, and I was here on a Friday. Monday, actually. Monday the following week, yeah.
IHN stands for Interfaith Hospitality Network, where it's a beautiful thing because you see churches of all different faiths come together with non-judgment of each other, and their one focus is helping another human.
IHN is a program that helps people that are homeless or people that have to get away from somebody and find them a new home.
If you have nowhere else to go, they basically, give you a place to stay. They, provide you with things, but the thing about IHN is that they help you for the rest of your life. So, even after you're done being homeless and you are on your feet and all that stuff, like they never, let you go.
IHN is a place of hope, smiles, happiness. I always picture it as arms held out, wanting to give a big hug and welcoming him in, patting him in the back, saying everything's going to be okay.
IHN has helped me from buying socks to pulling my tooth out. And I had the worst toothache, and it was like that for about 2 days. And Miss Jeline to the rescue. She called the dentist and said, I need her in there right away. Pulled it right out.
They helped us with blankets, pillows, everything.
They helped pay a lot of our back rent and some bills that I had actually owed that also somewhat played a role in our homelessness.
When we first got here, we had at least 2 and 3 loads of clothes donated because my stuff was stolen from my van. All my stuff. Right before I was coming here, all my stuff got stolen out of my van.
Oh, when I first came here, I was nervous.
Well, at first I thought it was going to be hard, and I didn't really want it to go through all that moving. And
I thought it was kind of weird because every 2 weeks we moved to a new church, which is okay because we met more new people.
It was hard. But it was hard, but I met a lot of good people at the church. I never thought I would be able to move every week or every 2 weeks. It was just so hard with 4 kids. But also I met a lot of good family who came every night. They would cook for us and they would play with my children. It was like a family to me.
Not for nothing, being here, I didn't feel homeless. It felt like family. It felt like you were accepted somewhere. There was no judging. There was no, and there was no misleading. There was no deception. Everything was, this is the way it is. This is the way it's gonna be. I wasn't steered in the wrong direction. Like, oh, this is gonna be a fun stay, and it was reality. Like, this is what it is. You move in here. This is the way it's gonna be. You have a certain amount of time. We're gonna help you get through this, and they did. They did.
When I came to IHN, after my situation became increasingly violent, there was support. I had a place that I could launch myself from. I could go to school, and it felt good to be there, and I could focus on my studies. I wasn't worried about like my house burning down or like, things being stolen or my car being broken into or things like that. And way more importantly than that, my kids had a safe place to be every night.
I hugged them. I stayed by them the whole time. I loved them. I made sure that they had everything they needed when they were there, and that if they had any questions, that I answered them, and just that I made them feel safe and that I protected them when we were there.
Most time we were comfortable. It was when we were all together at night, we were able to lay down, finally rest. And sometimes it was cold, sometimes it was okay, but when we were all together, and sometimes I would take them out to walk outside. That would just get them out of. But most of the time, when we're all together at home and just lay down,
My kids, I made it so that they didn't feel homeless. It's like we just have a short stay, we have somewhere to go, we're gonna stay here for a little bit, and then, you know, we're gonna find our own place.
They helped us because they firstly gave us somewhere to stay, and they gave us shelter. And what's even more important to me is that they actually helped me converse with people and open up to people more, because I was around more people every night. Every time we went to a church, there would be someone there hosting, and I learned how to basically open up, and I'm more comfortable with talking to people. And I really hate to say it, or really, I love to say it, but I don't think there was any time I was happy before IHN. IHN was like the best thing that happened to me.
They never leave your life. They're always there. They check on you. They aren't some organizations, they just help you and they wither away. To me, IHN has become part of my family.
They made that transition a little bit more smoother. It wasn't like, all right, you're homeless, you're here, this is what it is, that's it. No, the transition went pretty smooth, and the way I look at it is, if they don't work that way, and if they didn't care so much, it would have made it 10 times harder for families. But that's what they do. They genuinely care. It's like, all right, well, you're here, you're in this situation. I mean, a job is a job, but it goes deeper because they become family. And like, the way I look at it is, if they didn't do what they did, I don't think I would be where I'm at right now.
They're just super. I don't know how else to explain that. They've helped me so much. They helped me find a place, they helped me get into a place, they helped me get my grant.
In 2005, I was only homeless I was in the shelter for about 6 weeks. I got a job, I found my apartment through my job. It didn't take me long to find a place.
After I moved out of IHN, I was on a housing grant for a year. And while I was there, I had kind of a crappy landlord. My house was kind of not the best, but it was home.
And I live in an apartment, and my living conditions are what I would say normal is. I have rent and electric and food bill, and but they're small, and I love my apartment. I love that Olivia has her own room.
Right now I'm actually in school. I got my GED last year, and I'm in college.
we're living in house now. Me and the children still adjusting. We all still adjusting. But I can see that they're happy. They run around. They love it.
And my living conditions are beautiful. It's very simple, very simplified, and everything is at my reach. I'm very lucky. My daughter's school is right down the street. And I was lucky to get a landlord who actually didn't ask any questions. He just said I sounded like I was a very kind person. He didn't care. He didn't ask me about my past. He didn't ask me about my future. He didn't worry about my financial standing. He said, you sounded like you're very nice on the phone compared to a lot of the people that I have heard. Can I meet you to see if you would like to see the apartment?
We're living in a nice apartment very close to my school. And it's basically everything my mom and I ever dreamed of. It has wooden floors for my mom, and you can have any pet that you want, like which I wanted. And our landlord is a very kind man. And I'm just glad to have some place to call my own, and glad to have a cat now.
You know, my kids have friends that they play with every day. It's like a neighborhood. It's really There's a community there. The house is clean and cute, and I guess living conditions are great.
Living conditions are very tight. 5 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment is very tight. And right now we are in the process of packing, so not a lot of happy times.
It's very hard, especially when I'm single. You know, I don't have no one to help me. I don't have no one in New Jersey at all, like a family member. It's very hard trying to, before when I started school, I used to be in school at night, and it was very hard for me to find a babysitter.
Unfortunately, my mom lost her job recently, and we're able to pay the rent with my child support because my father doesn't live with us. And, you know, unemployment, we're able to pay our rent.
You know, I still think like, you know, can't afford my rent very much. Maybe it'd be really nice to, like, you know, cramp us all back into my mom's. Me and Gavin and Ezra in one room. I guess it's not really homeless, but it's certainly not living on your own.
The bills add up pretty quick, but you know, I'm not like scared about being homeless again. I just worry that it could happen, possibly.
Right now, alone, sometimes my children get sick, I have to leave work, I have to come. And a lot of other things, when you have to take care of the 4 kids, you alone. I'm thinking, I say, oh, right now, we have this, but I don't know the next 2 or 3 years how it's gonna be. I'm strong right now, but I get scared sometimes. If I'm sick, what's gonna happen to me? If I can't work, what's gonna happen to me?
Yes, as of right now, we are going to end up going back into the A shelter. But wasn't really looking forward to it, but we may end up having to go back in.
To me, it's no different than being a drug addict or an alcoholic, because a drug addict will always be a drug addict even if they are off. An alcoholic will always be an alcoholic even when they are not drinking, because every day they have to fight not to drink. And for me, with the homelessness, I have to fight every day, even when I'm at work, to make sure I am not homeless anymore. So you will always have that inner fear that it's going to happen again.
I really am a little afraid that we are going to become homeless again. But I'm not really that scared because IHN was such a good thing for me.
After coming to IHN, my outlook on life has changed, because I know that, you know, I can do anything, and I can do it, you know, by myself, and that there are people out there that care about you even when you know, don't think there is, or you think there's no hope, or you have no one to turn to, that there are people out there that care about you and want to help, and, you know, don't have a motive. They really care about people.
I'm more considerate and more concerned of what goes on around me. Before it was just, you know, work, take care of Travis, take care of the house. Now it's more of wondering what's going on. Like every night we have a discussion, which we started in IHN, on, you know, how his day was, how my day was, what's going on. So they've kind of like awakened me.
I was always dependent on people. IHN, I guess, made me, well, the work that I did while I was in IHN, and having the support of feeling like I could grow, like I was safe to grow, you know, sort of made me feel like I could be independent.
When I came through these doors, I came with a lot of pride. And when I walked out these doors, I evolved into someone who believes in herself. The pride was gone.
I'm not scared to ask for help anymore. The first day I met Jolene, I was hysterical. I didn't know how to tell her the situation. I didn't want to make my mom look bad because she's a really good person. When she's sober, she's incredible. I love my mom to death, but when she drinks, it's a whole different person that I don't want to know. And, you know, coming here and having to explain that to Jolene, I felt helpless. I felt like too scared. I didn't want to ask for help because I was like, there's got to be a reason why I'm going through this. I don't need help. I could just do it on my own. And eventually I couldn't. And asking them for help, it changed me in a way of, I'm not afraid to ask anyone if I need something or if I have a problem with something. I don't keep my mouth shut about it anymore.
Believe me, now when I go out, everything is so precious and so valuable. When I see people outside, I don't care how they look like, even sitting in the street, I'll pray for them. I say, God, please. I don't know what situation this person is going through, but I know I went through. Everybody have a different situation, but when you see people outside, just don't judge because you don't know it.
IHN has definitely changed me for the better. Again, I've never been so open and really so happy since I've actually been with IHN. I mean, I just can't imagine what my life would be if I hadn't actually become homeless and joined IHN.
I remember being in one church. This volunteer and her husband were there, and every once in a while a conversation would start. I think I came down for coffee that night, and we introduced ourselves, his wife and I, and we just started talking about my past and what same thing led to my homelessness and everything. And I turned it around and I said, who do you have in case this happens to you? And it's sad to see this lady. To me, she looked upper middle class, maybe even more. She looked down and then she looked up to me and she said, to be honest with you, I have no one to call. And I said, of course you have someone to call. You have IHN. You're not alone.
To me, IHN was sort of like a place to rest. And I don't mean like you don't have to do anything. I mean like when I wasn't here, I was like constantly like, you know, treading water, you know, just like trying to keep my head above water and like just treading and treading and treading. And like, you're not getting anywhere. You're not swimming. You're not like, land ho, I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna make something of myself. You're just basically like, I just need to be able to stay afloat, you know? When you got kids on your back climbing on you, it's really hard, you know? So when I came to IHN, I was able to rest. I could stop treading water and not getting anywhere, and I could like, it was supportive. You know, it's a place where you can stop focusing on like the superficial stuff in your life that like just keeps you going, and you can focus on like what really matters, to really developing yourself and really developing your children and developing your space and, you know, your place in the world. And that's really, I think that's really special.
You know, it just makes you feel so much better as a human. And now I also learned about volunteering, and yeah, now I also want to become a volunteer eventually. You know, it's just good things you can pass on. And that is one thing IHN has taught me, and thank you. Thank you very much.